All right, brief change of scenery. I got the panel back. I went over George's yesterday. He was doing the wiring. So he's got all of these switches wired up. These are our switch guards. So I'm going to cut those out so he can finish that. We're going to put a disconnect plug on either side. This is actually one goes on this side. So I'm going to cut that out. We also had these, a friend of mine cut these just out of acrylic to make sure that fits. And a little bit of this needs to be trimmed to fit the G3Xs in there. So that's today's project. Since we're using these Aerosport switches, I'm going to try to just cut them straight into there. They have little retaining things, so that prevents us from having to use any screws or anything. And looks like it's 1 7/8 top to bottom, and the 6 switches are 6 1/8 wide. So measure twice, measure 3 times, and cut it once. This is kind of a cool switch guard. Not sure I want to put screws into it, so I might finish these off and just hold it on with double-sided tape. That worked out great. These things snapped in. They're solid. As a matter of fact, they're probably too solid because each one of them has an individual little locking tab. Kind of have to work them with a putty knife to get them all out, but for sure they're not going to come out. So a little bit of filing, got it perfect onto the big screw. So I trimmed the cutout to match the CNC or the DHXF file, whatever they gave us here. The aluminum still protrudes it a little bit, but the cutout is actually 1/8 inch bigger than that. So I'm guessing what I did right now is I wrapped 4 or 5, 6 layers of masking tape around that to kind of auto center it in here. I'm going to drill these holes now and hopefully it'll all line up. Fingers crossed. Fun. It looks like I have to trim that piece of aluminum anyway. I got about 1/8. I need to trim at least a 1/16 off of it. I just don't want to get too close to the cinch nuts I have back here, which are fine. Definitely can put a nut plate there. Probably one of those end nut plates there. And maybe one up in there. I gotta figure out the last one. All right, so here we are about, I don't know, 3 hours later, and I wasn't really sure what I was doing, so I didn't know what to film. But here's what I got. These fit without having to cut this. I did trim the aluminum here, as you can see, about 1/8 of an inch. I'm gonna put a nut plate here, a nut plate there. I can squeeze a nut plate in underneath there, and then I think this one is either gonna be a cinch nut or a nut plate on the, excuse me, on the 80 thousandths aluminum panel, which bolts right to the structure here. So I think that's gonna be pretty robust. I've probably, I've disassembled everything, took the center console out. I've taken this, and this. I think it's like 30 something screws apart at least a half a dozen times, and I'm about to do it another half a dozen times. There's one mount for the G3X. I heard to see. There's another mount for the G3X. There's the first one. There's the third one, and the fourth one kind of ends up right here. So, like I said, that's going to mount to the actual aluminum panel. So, I'm lucky I had these 6/32, whatever you call these type of nut plates on hand. That's a regular one, and I did trim that out, and that part here to make room for that other nut plate. And now I'm going to try and put it all together. I forgot how many parts there are. I would say that was a productive day. Yes, it was a very long day, but it was productive. Got both of these mounted. As soon as you put that on, and I don't know if you can tell, but I put the clamps on back there. This thing's like rock solid, so I don't think it's going anywhere. A little useless drawer, our CO2 detector. I just took that out so I don't have metal shavings in it. And I didn't push the switches in because it's kind of a hassle to compress all 12 of these little clips to get them out, but we know they fit and they look good. I think I might look at the heat thing before I give this back to George. I found this really cool, like, car looking heater control valve, but that's for another video. And well, I guess that will probably conclude this. Oh yeah, doing a USB charger, ELT, and yeah, just really happy with the way it came out. Hope this is of help to somebody. This is definitely the long-winded, more complicated way of doing it, but I countersunk all these screws here. This is going to be made out of aluminum, and right now this is 1/8 inch acrylic, kind of just a test piece. We're going to make it out of 80 thousandths aluminum. You can kind of see the screws are not quite protruding the nut plates, but they will once we shrink this down to half its size. So yeah, super happy. All right, thanks for watching. Good night.